Bethel, members of the board, good morning. And I wanted to just start out by acknowledging the comments this morning were all very important. They were all very civil. And I really appreciate that because I know that some other bodies in this region have not had that kind of civility. And I think allowing this civil exchange of views is really important to the deliberations of our agency. So I wanted to particularly thank everyone for that.
Is the head of, right? And they're talking about throwing needles on the ground to make it look like homeless drug people are using drugs, right? So I've seen that. There's screenshots of it. You know, he can come up here and admit to the stuff that goes on and the fact that members of his group are out there harassing homeless women, beating up people, doing all kinds of vigilante actions. You guys don't care if there's serial killers, all kinds of people, you know. You had a homeless serial killer, Mark Bebout, who got released from prison early,
your time is up.
And then he went around and killed homeless people and a homeless service outreach worker. You guys don't care about anything. You're all about money and bullshit. You're not about fixing things.
Thank you, Mr. Davis.
It's time for you to fix things.
Okay.
And shut up with all your rhetoric and bullshit.
Thank you, Mr. Davis.
And do something.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Lighting.
And what are you going to do tomorrow? You're going to how much is the city sweep going to cost you tomorrow? Huh?
Mr. Lighting.
How much money are you going to spend sweeping out homeless people and warring on the mentally ill, homeless people, women and children, LGBT people, everyone?
Okay, Mr. Davis,
thank you. Are you going to call that off?
Level of civility. But perhaps I would start by just responding to some of the comments you heard. In some ways, I want to defend myself as being Neil Mcfarlane freeway builder, as the guy who's been responsible at one level or another for 5 of our region's 6 light rail lines and probably more active transportation investment than just about any other agency. The remarks that were reported on in the Portland Tribune were true, which is I did agree that as part of a balanced package, some improvement to key bottlenecks in our region, consistent with our regional transportation plan, consistent with our urban growth boundary, consistent with the plans of our regions and cities and counties, was appropriate. But I wanted to emphasize it was not a prioritization of those improvements. It was a recognition of the need for a comprehensive transportation solution for this region and transportation investment. I wanted to just note some of the other things that were part of those remarks. So if you'll forgive me for just a moment, I would also encourage anybody who was curious about this. The Washington County Public Affairs Forum has a website that has the remarks taped, and they are available there. So if in this era of false news reports, fake news, alternative facts, I encourage people to look at the original source. I talked about gentrification and the issues of housing prices and dislocation, and the need to really begin to think anew about our transit system as people are moving, particularly low income and people of color are moving to our suburbs, about retooling our transit system in other areas of our region. I talked about the importance of that. I talked about the importance of sidewalks and active transportation improvement. And that one of the successful outcomes, if we're successful in funding the Southwest Corridor, would be something on the order of $100 million of active transportation improvements within that corridor. Incredibly important given the lack of infrastructure that's in that part of the region right now. And I would just note that that is a building upon our past actions. If you remember the Orange Line, something on the order of $60 million of value for active transportation improvements were included in the project for the Orange Line, including some really important bike and pedestrian connections to our stations. I talked about our role in safety and the importance of safety for all modes, particularly for people who are walking and biking in our region. And I would remind everybody that we are a signatory and a partner in the Vision Zero efforts with the City of Portland. And I just wanted to note that our projects also have perhaps unadvertised benefits for low-income housing development. For example, some of our excess property is now in partnership. We're in partnership on 2 sites with REACH for the additional development of low-income housing along our line, because we realize the importance of locating those units in direct adjacency to public transit to serve the residents well. So again, I would just note that I was outlining a package, and I'm not prioritizing one over the other, but I would say that my long experience tells me that there is still a need for a balance in our transportation system, and that is where our regional transportation plan that we are charged to implement, I think, at last. So there may be room to differ on that, and I appreciate the differences of opinion that may occur on that, but nonetheless, I wanted to just clarify where my remarks were. Second to the comments related to from Opal and BRU, first of all, I would say that the police precinct is a replacement of the current office that we are leasing in Old Town. That issue was before this board not once but twice in a briefing and as a separate resolution that you actually adopted a contract with the Portland Development Commission to purchase the condominium. The business case is that it will be cheaper for us to actually participate in that process of developing the parking garage, which the bottom floor of which, a corner of which will be the police precinct. Then continuing the lease. So it actually frees up resources for, in the long term, for transit use. There are no increases in the number of police officers or FTEs proposed in the budget. Yet I would tell you that our rider surveys tell us that our riders do appreciate the presence of our police on the system and do feel more secure when the police are there. Related to the fare inspection issues, I am proposing in the budget, and we'll talk about this as we get to the budget, an increase in the number of fare inspectors. Our current number is abysmally low compared to our peers in the industry. But I would also tell you that that comes with a complete package of changes that we are working with in consultation with TIAC and many other members of the community. That includes the letter and the statement that we have helped facilitate from each of our district attorneys that said they will no longer use interfering with public transit for fare evaders, if you will, based on fare. So I would say that we've taken the lead in getting to that point with the district attorneys, 3 different counties, 3 different district attorneys, 3 different enforcement mechanisms, but they all agree on that, and we're very grateful for that. And again, I think our safety staff has been instrumental in getting that level of understanding clear. There is a point that we do not wish to see, would prefer that IPT charge was not removed from the state statute. In extreme circumstances, it still may be useful, but and appropriate. But that would simply be in extreme situations, and the statement from the district attorneys, we believe, have solved the issues of criminalizing not paying your fare. Second of all, we're making great progress in the legislature on the proposal to bring our citation adjudication process out of the court system into a internal TRIMET system, which gives us more flexibility and gives us more chance to decriminalize anything associated with fare evasion and to work with our customers to make sure that fares are paid. And again, part of our goal with the additional fare inspectors is also additional service. Recall that this is the year we introduced the Hot Pass. Fare inspectors will be instrumental in helping our customers begin to adjust to the benefits of fare capping and other mechanisms that are allowed with the Hot Pass. So we think it's an appropriate time to step up that investment. I would note that that also follows the results of the surveys. Part of this comprehensive review and evaluation of fare enforcement that we have been part of and has been in front of you probably 3 or 4 times over the last year, that we did see an increase year over year of fare evasion on the MAX system from 9% to 14%. And recall that that's a substantial reduction in the resources available for public transit service elsewhere in the region, and that again, it's important for us to make sure that we maximize and create a fair fare enforcement system. So I would certainly welcome any other questions or clarifications from the board if you wish. Otherwise, I'll certainly be happy to move on with the report given the long agenda that we've got.